Okay, like I said, though, I'm probably more thankful than most of you people. I was 17 when I got in the service, and by the time I was 19, I was over in England flying bombers. And at the time there, we were the first Yankees, you might say, in England. And it was pretty murderous there because we had no fighter cover or anything when we went into the various targets that we went to. There wasn't anybody to help us, so we were there on our own. And you're crossing Germany, and you got 300-400 fighters jumping on you, and anti-aircraft and things like that. Things were kind of rough. Anyway, I had things happen there that could only have been, I don't want to tell you war stories, but they could have only happened because God had intervened. It was quite obvious that he had. And when we were first there, the figures didn't tell any lies, but about one crew out of 5 made the 25 missions that we had to make before you went home. And about one crew out of 5 ever made 25 missions. And there's a, yeah, thank you. There's a cemetery in England at Cambridge that has 26,000 of 8th Air Force kids, you might say. They were all practically kids, like me. And there was one time I have to relate to you that he definitely saved me. There wasn't any question about it. And it was kind of awesome. But we were going on this mission to Mersburg one morning, which was a target that had oil refineries there, and they're really heavily defended. And so anyway, I got through with the briefing in the morning, and I got in the truck and went out to the airplane, and I told the other guys, my gunners and stuff, that where we were going. Everybody didn't breathe a sigh of relief when we went to that target. But anyway, right at the last minute, and I was climbing in the airplane, and this captain came out in the Jeep, and he had a second lieutenant with him who was fresh from the States. He hadn't even flown a mission yet. And he said, Dave, he says, you're going to have to take this other airplane, he says, because, he says, their pilot's sick. Well, they never do that. That's not standard operating procedure. Never do that. Put you on another airplane after you've trained with your own crew for a year. But anyway, I had no choice. So I went over there and this other airplane. They put this second lieutenant in as a co-pilot for my co-pilot there. He took over the first officer's spot and flew my old airplane, and then they put that second lieutenant in there for a co-pilot. Well, we flew over into the target, and on the bomb run, we had our bomb bay doors open, and we're just ready to drop the bombs. And I happened to look out my side window here, because my old crew was flying off my left wing here. And all of a sudden, they got a direct hit right in their bomb bay with all their bombs on board. And of course, it was just a big black boom, and there was nothing left, just a dirty old black cloud there. And I should have been on there, and that really hit me, because I should be dead. I should have been on that airplane, but I wasn't. And that was one. But he saved me 2 or 3 times, more than that. And the other time we were going to Hamburg. up at the Kiel Canal. The Germans had a big battleship that was, it was almost twice the size of ours, and was creating a bunch of havoc out in the North Atlantic with our convoys. And they were shooting up our convoys and sinking them and things like that. And so intelligence got word that they pulled that battleship into the Kiel estuary there in the canal, which is at Hamburg. And that was a nasty target too. But anyhow, we were over the target when all at once we got a hit underneath the airplane up there in the belly, and the anti-aircraft shell went off really close, and it threw the airplane up like this, and it kind of went like that. And of course, I lost control of it. We lost 2 engines, and we lost about 11,000 feet, I guess it was, before I finally got control of the thing again. And it was just a bad deal. And so losing that altitude like that, you can't maintain altitude with 2 engines with a B-17. So I told the kids to throw everything out of the airplane they could think of. And they did. Guns, ammunition, everything. We salvoed the ball turret out of there, dropped it, and we headed for the coast. There's a little island right there on the edge of Germany called Heligoland. And we headed for that. And we just got to the coast when the tail gunner said, "We got 7 bogeys here." He says, "It's 6 o'clock on us." And I said, "Oh man, that's all we need. You know, we got no guns, got no ammunition, nothing. We're just dead meat." So they sat back there, those 7 fighters sat back there and just kind of looked us over for a minute. And I told the kids to put their chutes on. We had harnesses here, and you wore chest chutes. And you couldn't wear the chute while he was in the airplane, flying really, so you had to put it on this harness here before he bailed out, but I was sure we were going to have to do that. And so they put their chutes on, and we kept on going, and these 7 fighters were back there. And all of a sudden, this leader of these 7 fighters, he broke away from those guys, and he came right at us, and I figured, oh boy, he's going to claim us for himself, you know. And but he didn't. He went right up outside, alongside of us here, off my left wing, and he wasn't any farther from here to the wall over there, and I could see him in the cockpit. And he was smiling at me, and I thought, well, he's going to polish us off, so I don't know what he's smiling for, but anyway, he was smiling. Then he saluted us. He saluted me, and he said, "Go ahead," like that. "Go ahead." And he turned around and peeled off and went back to his group, and they never bothered us. Now, I don't know whether you could consider that gallantry. He was feeling gallant, but I always thought that the Lord was talking to him.
Right, the Lord was talking.
And I always thought that because it just wasn't normal, you know. And then I'm only going to tell you about one other mission that he saved us to. We were going into Schweinfurt, which is a big ball bearing plant and a motor plant that they used to build their fighters. Germans used for their fighters and their bombers, and it was the most heavily defended target there. Matter of fact, this day we lost 60 bombers in there, 60. And anyway, we got over the target, and a bunch of fighters came in on us, and they shoot 20 millimeter cannon out of those Focke-Wulf 190s. And two of those rounds went right through the top of the cockpit, and it took the co-pilot out immediately. The whole side of his face and everything was gone, and it exploded on me too, and kind of mangled his hand and arm, and my eyes were full of shrapnel. I couldn't really see anything, and it took about half the instruments out, blew them out, so I couldn't really tell what the engines were doing or anything. And so we had to turn around and go back, and the navigator gave us a heading to get back to England. But anyway, I was kind of bad shape. I got hit up in here, and my scalp was hanging down over this ear, and this arm was kind of bad, and I couldn't see very well. And anyway, the navigator brought us back over the airport, and it was getting dark. And at night, they won't turn the lights on out there because it's blackout all the time, so they don't turn the lights out in the runway. But they build a bonfire out in the end, about 500 yards off the end of the runway. And you line up on that, on the active runway, and you line up on that bonfire, and then usually you could get close enough where you could see the runway. But anyway, I started down on that bonfire like that, and I remember getting over the bonfire, but I couldn't see very well, and that's the last I remember. I had poked myself. They give you these little ampules of morphine with a needle on the end, and you poke yourself with that, and it takes some of the pain away, but I lost too much blood, I guess, and I don't remember landing the airplane whatsoever. I don't remember it, not anything. Don't remember seeing the runway, nothing. I woke up in the hospital, the 231st Hospital over there, and they were giving me some blood, and I saw this major standing over me, and I said, "Are you the doctor?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "I'm the only one here tonight." And he says, "I'm going to have to operate on you. And but he says, I have to tell you," he says, "I'm a baby doctor." He says, "Not a surgeon." About that time I passed out again. So, yeah, but marvelously, he did a great job, really. But I still have some metal in my eye. As a matter of fact, on the 29th here, I got to go get some more taken out of this one. But you talk about the Father saving you. I mean, because I don't remember landing that airplane at all. And so then I got out of the hospital finally, and I was really a nasty-looking character. I had scars and stuff and red welts and all kinds of things on me. So anyway, they asked me to go over and pick up an airplane that had landed on a little fighter field over there, the English fighter field. Evidently, the pilot couldn't get back to the base, and he picked the first place that he could find to get back to. And they have very short runways there. You can get into a shorter runway than you can get off of with an airplane. And but anyway, they sent co-pilot and I over there to pick it up. We didn't take the crew with us because we wanted to lighten up the airplane. And we got over there at this little town of Beckles is where this little fighter field was. It's a real quaint little town, about 50 miles from our base. And the airplane, they were fixing it, and it wasn't quite ready yet, so they said, well, you have to come back tomorrow, stay over until tomorrow to pick up the airplane. So I went down to this little town. It was a real quaint little place. didn't have sidewalks. So the stores were right out almost in on the road. And anyhow, I went past this little candy shop. And I thought, well, I'm going to go in and get me a piece of candy. So I went in this place, and there was a small place. There wasn't anybody in there. So I hollered, and I said, is anybody here? And this girl came out from the back room over there, and we got to talking, and I bought some candy, and she was absolutely a gorgeous lady. She was a young Elizabeth Taylor, believe me. She was beautiful, so I lost my cool. I really did. We got to talking, and she says, well, look, I was so ugly, I don't know how in the world she was even going to talk to me. But anyway, she says, if you ever get a day off, she says, can you come back over here? And she says, I'll introduce you to my folks. Boy, I grabbed that. I grabbed that offer anyway, and so one day I went back over there, and she wasn't in the candy store. She'd stayed home that day or something, I don't know. But so I went in this little bakery and asked him, I said, do you know the Morleys or Peggy? And he says, oh, yeah. He says, she comes in here all the time, and she works in the candy store. I said, I know that. I said, do you know where she lives? And he says, yeah, it's about 6 miles out in the country. Do you know where? Yeah. He says, I can direct you. So I got no way to get out there, so I asked him, I said, do you have a bicycle I can borrow? Because everybody rode bicycles. Cars just didn't have a car. They didn't have any gas or anything else. So I got in this bicycle, and I pedaled out there for 6 miles. And I met her folks, and they were great. In any case, I married her about 3 months later. And we had 30 years, good marriage, great. But at 49 years old, she got breast cancer, and she passed away. But she left me with 2 good boys, real great boys. One's a doctor and one's kind of an engineer. And so really, I've got a million things to thank the Father for. Yes, you do. And he definitely saved me at least 3 or 4 times there where I was dead. Absolutely. Now, why that is, I don't know. Like I said, there's 26,000 young guys there at the cemetery, and if you ever go to England, you want to go there. It's gorgeous. The English people just keep it just immaculate. It's a great place to go. And but I don't know why I'm here. I've wondered for going on 89 years now, what in the world I'm doing here.
Know. We know. Yeah, give him a hand clap. And stand and give him a brother a hand clap. Amen. We appreciate our brother.